UVCE Chronicles, sing it loud. Echoes of our past, we're proud. From the heart of Bangalore to the world we soar.
Hello to all our viewers and listeners. Welcome to another exciting episode of UVC Chronicles. My name is Varsha Rao from second year AIML. And on today's episode, we are joined by Mr. Arnab Ganguly. Mr. Arnab Ganguly is a 2001 electrical engineering batch graduate who has worked in companies like Meta, Microsoft, Intel, IBM, etc. in the past and is currently working as the senior staff manager at Electronic Arts. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. Welcome to UVC Chronicles.
Thank you so much, Varsha. Great to be here.
So at UVC Chronicles, we believe that nothing beats a first hand introduction. So I would request you to please briefly introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Arnab Ganguly, and I used to be a student at UVCE not so long back, and I graduated from the college in the year 2002. Since then, it's been a non-stop sort of work and family and everything, and we sort of forget to sometimes look back at the great times we had in our college. And I think UVC Chronicles, I think, is a great way to sort of reconnect back to your alma mater, sort of connect back with them, see what's happening there. So I think this is an amazing initiative, and I'm very happy to be part of this and happy to share my experience.
Thank you, sir. So, can you share a bit about your childhood and learning journey and how did you end up choosing UVC?
Sure. So I grew up in Bangalore. So all my schooling happened in Bangalore. My dad used to work in a public sector company there. In fact, my mom and dad still live in Bangalore. So I often visit them. Try to do at least once every 6 months. So growing up in Bangalore, Bangalore was much less crowded than you see these days. A lot less people, a lot less traffic. And after graduation from my 12th standard, I obviously wrote the common entrance examination, common entrance test, I think they used to call it then. And initially I was also desirous of going to KRSC Suratkal. You go into an REC. I think they're called NIT these days. And then I think UVC was also one of my shortlisted colleges. I got the branch, the branch that I wanted. I was sort of able to gauge the distance from my house, whether I'd be able to commute daily. So all those things kept in mind. Ended up choosing UVCE. UVCE was also top because it was still one of the top colleges in those days. It got a lot of press. I did hear about a lot of campus placements in those days as well. Companies used to love the college. So I think the quality of students and the quality of faculty, the quality of the library in those days, I think was great. So those were also factors that sort of went into my decision making of choosing UVC as a college.
That's wonderful. So, what was it like studying in electrical engineering at UVC back then? And do you have any special memories from college that you'd like to share with us today?
Yeah, so basically, the whole I think college was great. I think I learned a lot. I basically sort of strengthened my fundamentals in a lot of the areas which I still use these days. I not only sort of strengthened my tech skills, but also my soft skills, things like communication, talking to people, introducing yourself. These I think are great skills that one needs to learn in college. Talking to people who are not from your sort of level, talking to people in the industry, people in academia. These I think are very key skills that students should learn, and which I think I did. We had a great sort of faculty at UVCE, I think, and I also had a great set of friends. And jointly, I think we sort of strive to do well in our academics. That was the main goal. But other than that, we also had a ton of fun. I think we were the batch which sort of joined before the millennium and graduated through the millennium. So that was special. And the world was changing. The world was changing fast. Lot of new things were coming in. The internet was in its infancy. We were very curious to see what was happening in that space. Mobile was sort of catching up in a big way in India. So that was a great revolution to be part of. So I think the times were great. I think the industry was just starting to come up, and I think the college gave us a great sort of tools to sort of leverage that industry and build great careers after that.
Thank you for sharing your memories with us, sir. So it is just been 2 days, around 3 days since we concluded Impetus 2025, conducted by IEEE, and it was a 2 day event consisting of many competitions, stalls, games, etc. So how was IEEE back then, and how was Impetus back then?
Impetus was just starting. Impetus was in its infancy. The college was starting to take baby steps towards setting up all these academia, college interfaces. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of it when I started, but during the course of time, a lot of students from my batch and from CSE, ECE, etc., started to sort of have these industry academia college sort of triple allegiance, if you will, wherein we got people from all of these places to speak to us, talk to us. So I really personally did not experience a ton of IEEE sort of content or interfaces, etc., during my time there. I think it was still starting up, but I'm so happy to see that the people who sort of came in later were privileged enough to sort of go through this. Right, I think this is an amazing experience, and I think I would strongly encourage people to sort of go in and sort of learn as much as you can, because I think the goal of your these 4 years of college is to basically create a very strong technical fundamental base. And I cannot emphasize this much in this world. If your fundamentals are strong, you can sort of build whatever you want over that later on. Right, it doesn't matter, because what you the problems that you will see in the industry are not ones you have seen now, or they will be totally new. Right, so that's what I tell people I meet, that don't learn stuff but learn to think. Right, how do you approach a problem that you have never seen? How do you solve the unknown? Because you'll be faced with a lot more unknowns than knowns. And then how will you solve those unknowns, and what will your approach to be to solving those unknowns? I think is what is going to differentiate a successful professional from a one who struggles.
Right, those are some really good suggestions and advices, sir. So can you tell us about your campus placement experience and your first job?
Yeah, that was a really nice story around it. So we sort of graduated during the dot-com bubble. So the market was extremely volatile, right? So while me and a lot of my colleagues and students were placed successfully, a lot of us ended up either getting postponed letters, canceled appointments. So I was one of them. So I got into an American company who I shall not name here, and then I think during my eighth semester examination, they sent me a letter at my home saying that your appointment is cancelled. So I went back. Obviously, this was the case across the board. So after graduation, before we collected our certificates, there was a couple of more companies which came into our college for additional placements. So I was part of the cohort that went in and sort of interviewed the second time again, and this time I got through. And these guys had an offer for me, which was on the table as opposed to the earlier offer. So I ended up taking the second offer. This was a very large electronics and computer software company based in Austin, Texas, and called Dell. And so we started there briefly, and that was my first start. So yeah, but then it was actually unplanned. It was an unknown. And laying out an offer, extending an offer, then canceling the offer is not a good place to be in for a student. But you have to navigate these uncertainties as you come out of college. The world has become a much more uncertain place, and I think that experience made me stronger, made me accept uncertainty, deal with uncertainty, and sort of come out in a much more stronger way.
That is definitely an interesting experience.
Yes.
So, what led you to move from India to the US?
Okay, so when I started my consulting career with IBM, I was posted to a customer site in Europe, from India. And during that time, I sort of experienced firsthand how mature the consulting markets are in the West as opposed to what I was used to from, say, Bangalore as an offshore employee. And that's for sort of, acted as a magnet for me to transition from the relatively immature consulting markets that were in India to a far more mature consulting markets in the West. The options were obviously Europe and America. Europe had its language issues, and I didn't want to learn a new language. That's my personal bias. People may not agree with me, and so I thought, hey, the US can be a great place for me to start. And sort of so, and that also gave me the pedestal and the springboard to jump to a much more mature consulting market in the US. Yeah, so that was the only decision making that I had to sort of jump into a much more into a higher state of maturity, if you will, and consult with the larger audience. And I think it really worked out well when I landed up in the consulting markets in the in from the then IBM Business Consulting Services into the US. I consulted nationwide, East Coast, West Coast, worked with a array of customers, and I started to handle things independently as opposed to sort of getting through a lot of guidance. Which I used to get in India. So I had a lot of autonomy to run things myself, and I really loved that independence, the accountability and the responsibility that came along with it. So yeah, so that sort of led me. Yeah, so these were the dimensions that led me to move from India to the US.
Right. So now that you've mentioned IBM and business consulting services, so what does a consultant exactly do?
Okay, so a consultant basically helps customers achieve their business goals at a very high level, right? So a customer has a business goal. They want to get to point B from point A, and they either don't have the technical or the business skills to do it. And it can be in a variety of situations, right? It can be business, law, compliance, privacy, technical challenges, techno functional challenges. So the challenge can be diverse, but essentially the customer that is trying to solve the problem does not have the wherewithal to do it. Either people or the leverage or the connects or the contacts or the IP, and they basically hire a set of people to help them sort of transition or get them over the bridge, if you will. And that's essentially what a consultant does, right? They come in with their specialized skills, and I was an engineer, right? I simply wrote code at the start of my life. I used to write code in Java and SAP ABAP. That's a language in ERP. And I basically wrote code, and I helped customers sort of realize the SAP functionalities that they wanted to realize. And consulting was great because it sort of gave me this exposure to a wide sort of customers. And in those days, consulting used to be a traveling job wherein you had to travel Monday through Thursday. So you fly out on Monday from your home, and you fly in on Thursday evening, and then you fly out again on a Sunday night. So that was great for a person who is starting off their career, spending time on airplanes, hotels, customer sites, speaking to customers. I think that was great, and I think it sort of gives you that adrenaline rush to sort of get up from bed, go to office, fly out, write your stuff, do your coding, get the results, and then come back home, and then maybe 6 weeks later you're at a different site, at a different customer site, working with a different set of people whose mentalities, whose needs can be different. I think it makes you very flexible. It sort of builds a lot of strength in you, sort of exposes yourself to, again, a lot of unknowns which you would not have seen if you were in a siloed atmosphere. So I think overall it gave me amazing new perspectives which I didn't have earlier.
Right. I definitely have learned something new today. So at Microsoft, you majorly worked on this product called HD Insight. So what is
Yeah.
HD Insight? And I am a second year student with not much idea, and majority of our listeners and viewers are students. So could you explain it in the simplest way possible?
Sure. So HT Insights basically helps customer gather insights from their data, right? That's it. That's the very simplest form. It's a product that Microsoft or makes, under its Azure engineering, umbrella. I'm sure you've heard of Azure. So HT Insight is a product that sort of works within Azure, can get all the customer data into it and then showcase insights from there. Again, going one level deeper, what it does is it can basically sort of ingest all of the customer information, and customer information can come from customers' transactional systems that they have on site, like Salesforce, etc., databases, and then sort of churn that information, transform the data, and then sort of provide actionable insights to customers. So good example is, let's say you're a customer looking to sort of sell a product in a market, right? How would you know, is that the right decision or not? Is that the right market to sell the product or not? What kind of profit margins would you see for that particular product in that particular market, right? I mean, how would you even approach the market? How long will it take to crack the market? That is a sales use case that can be solved with data insights, right? So if you take a look at the data insights market, there are again so many tools that you can use to solve this, and HT Insight was the flagship Azure tool that we had, or the Azure product that we had. One level deeper, like I said, let's just peel the onion. So it is a multi-clustered service. It used to run multiple Hadoop service offerings, Spark, Kafka, Hive, HBase. These are all the Apache, open source Apache ecosystem components, and it's basically an a MPP system, a massively parallel processing system, and it could sort of horizontally scale in and scale out. It could also support AI and ML workloads for folks like you. So you could sort of give it data, and you could build models on top of it, and then you could consume the models, and then you could sort of scale those models off of it. So it also sort of caters to that AI and ML use case. And lastly, it could also connect a lot of visualization tools like Power BI, Tableau, etc., to build those dashboards for people to sort of consume those insights that it has gathered upstream.
That's great to know. Thank you. So, what made you join Intel and what kind of work did you do there?
Yeah, at Intel again, I was an architect at Intel. Did a lot of enterprise architecture work there. So Intel had a pretty large sort of product that they were trying to build at the time, called the Advanced Collaboration Engine, or ACE, and I was one of the principal architects for that particular product. This again connects back to my earlier ERP experience that I had. So I had enabled customers sort of go to market, or sort of enable their business outcomes when it came to building products around sales, marketing, etc. And Intel wanted to do something similar internally, in house, and that's why I was hired in the first place. And over my time at Intel, I basically helped them realize this business outcome. So I built this product end to end. The product was a customer facing offering, wherein and our customers were basically the internal sales and marketing group at Intel, who used this to sort of go to market, get in orders, manage orders, track orders. So it was an Intel ERP, if you will. And then yeah, so that's basically what I did during my time at Intel. I basically was an architect, looked into the various different architectural facets around availability, latency, business continuity, networking interactions, security, identity, the various different things that you need to see when you build a product, and incorporated all of that into this advanced collaboration.
That is really cool. So, what inspired you to move to Meta and what were your key projects there?
Yeah, at Facebook, or Meta, like they call it now, I was a platform product leader, and as part of the Meta journey, I moved to Meta after my long tenure at Microsoft, where I had done a lot of product building work, and Meta also had this main challenge around privacy. Now, privacy is a key challenge. You might have heard of this term, and Meta has been sort of had some challenges around this, which they are looking to solve. Now, let me explain this with an example. Now, let's say Meta or any other social media app collects humongous amounts of information all the time, and it has to sort of and the main goal is to place relevant ads back to you. Now the question is, it cannot place an ad back to you based on information that can be construed as private, right? It can't send an ad based on your gender. It can't send an ad based on your religion, right? So these are private, information for that particular person, and these must not be used to sort of trigger an ad to that person, right? So the system must not be able to uniquely identify these personal facets of any cohort or any individual person. So that at a very high level is the goal. There are lots of other things as well. So privacy is basically a huge field. It's a very large area with a lot of different moving parts, and Meta built a large platform to sort of manage all of these things. And I was one of the people who sort of manage this. My work at Meta basically was to keep the platform up and running, look into the data that was coming into this landscape, what was happening to the data, how did our engineers work with the data, whether we were able to get the privacy outcomes that we had sought to achieve at the beginning. Looking into the various different metrics around this platform, around things like availability, networking, security, etc. Like I said earlier, so it was basically a platform product role around managing the privacy landscapes at Meta. And yeah, so that's what I did there, and I think I had a great time doing it. Lots of fun.
That's amazing. So, what is your current role at EA and what does your work involve?
Okay, so basically, at EA, I am a product leader again, and at EA, my work is continues on the platform side of the house. And EA, as you know, is a gaming company, right? We host ton of games, and I'm not sure if you've played an EA game yourself. Please do. Some games are like Battlefield, Need for Speed, right? Formula One, that is FIFA, or Football Club, right? You might have heard these games. So all these games are hosted on containerized landscapes, which means they are containerized and then they are hosted on a massive global sort of distributed pla- platform, if you will. And my team basically manages this underlying landscape from a product standpoint. So this again sort of involves understanding customer requirements, what our customers or what our studios need, how do the studios want to containerize those games, how will those games sort of come into our system, where will those games run, how do we ensure that our customers are able to get the availability of those games, and they are able to continuously play those games, if you will. So I think those are things. So platform rules are basically the same across the industry. You understand customer needs. You are very deep in tech. You're hands-on in tech. You sort of make sure that the platform that you're entrusted with sort of is available at all times, runs well, and is able to cater to the needs of your customers. So it's the same sort of role at an Uber level, but the nuances and the technology and the customer needs vary from company to company.
That's really great to know. So, product management is much more than I expected it to be, definitely.
Yeah, I think technical product roles I think are really interesting from what I think they are, and you need a very deep hands-on technical experience, maybe a engineer architect background with a deep product sense skill as well, right? So you have to sort of combine these both to come up with these strong technical PM skills.
Right. So, if there is one advice that you'd like to give to all the students who are starting out, what would it be?
The single most biggest advice that I would give is basically learn your fundamentals well. Learn to think, and not you don't have to know a particular language or a particular tool or a particular technology, but know how to approach a problem that you have not seen in the past, and then practice it yourself day in and day out. Think of a situation. Think you are an engineer, or you are a PM, or you're a manager, and you are suddenly faced with a problem, and make it up yourself. How would you really approach it? Are you like able to apply first principle thinking? Are you able to think out of the box? Are you able to sort of solve for the unknowns, or at least first understand what the unknowns are? What is the problem really calling for? Who are the people who are getting impacted with this problem, right? So those are the sort of things that you have to sort of start thinking around, and have a structural thinking mindset, I would say. So when faced with a unknown problem, what are the first steps? Who are the people? What are they seeing? What is my role here? What is the company's roles here? Who are the other stakeholders? So I think coming up with a structured thinking around this path, I think, is absolutely crucial for people who are graduating, this year, and in the next few years, because the world has obviously become a much more uncertain place than what it used to be. And what I see lacking in people is basically a lack of the structured problem solving skills. You have to be a great problem solver to sort of thrive in the world that you guys will be sort of graduating into. And I think this skill, I think, is by far the most important skill: the ability to think in a structured way, and the ability to sort of approach problems which you have not seen in the past. I think is the number one skill that I would advise people to have.
Right. Thank you so much for all those words, sir. I am definitely inspired and I'm going to remember all your advices. So, thank you so much for joining us today, sir. It was my pleasure to interact with you today. And I learned so much from today's conversation. And I'm sure that all our viewers and listeners are inspired too. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you so much, Varsha. It was amazing to speak to a UVCEN after all these years, and I hope you get some value of what we discussed today. And I wish you all the best. And I'm sure people coming to UVCE have got amazing caliber to begin with. It's not easy to get into this college, and I think as you sort of grow and groom yourself, and sort of come out in the next few years, I think you'll be absolutely ready to face the unknowns and face the challenges, and do amazing in life. So I wish you and all the people from UVC the very best. Best of
Thank
luck.
you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.